Hey gang, today we are going to do a special request from a very special person in my life. This is Jackson Browne's Late for the Sky with the great David Lindley, a player who had just about the best touch on the guitar and a really unique sound. So I'm going to do the demo for the song, and then I'm going to tell you how I got the sound for it, because it is definitely a unique sound. And I'll give you some tips on the touch on all that. Hey, if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to the channel. I'm going to do the demo right up first, and then we'll do the lesson following that. Okay. All right, gang, let's go over this now note for note. Certainly one of the most beautiful solos out there, in my opinion. David Lindley had such a touch on the instrument and such a unique sound, too. So we'll go through all of that. I'll show you how to get that sound. There's some story behind that as well, if you want to listen and find out. Okay, here's what I'd like to do. First of all, you can download the tab from the link in the description below. It's going to make your life a lot easier. First, I'd like to go over the sound. Then I'll play the whole thing slowly, and then I'll go through it note for note, giving you tips on how to try and coax out some of those sounds from the instrument. But I got to tell you, I can give you some tips, but you got to find how to do it with your own fingers. That's going to be the challenge, I think. But hopefully I can get you started on that. All right, so first of all, that sound. It's such a unique sound. Now, the lore is that David Lindley had it on a cranked, I can't remember the type of amp, but it was a tube amp where the tubes were glowing blue and they were just about to blow. Now, I'm not going to go and put, overload my tubes and get them to the point where they're just about to pop. I'm not going to do that. But here's what I did do, and I suspect you wouldn't want to do that either. Here's what I did do. I started out with a totally clean sound, on like a Marshall type of thing, and then I cranked it just a little bit, so I put enough gain so that it was starting to break up a little bit. I didn't like it. It didn't work so well for me. So instead I backed it out and had it clean, and I decided to use an overdrive. And the overdrive that I kicked in has basically zero gain on it. So here it is with the overdrive, and here it is without the overdrive. You can hear the difference, right? That's clean, and this is just slightly dirty. Not very much, but it does help with the sustain, and it does help to just fuzz it up just a little bit. Second thing is, I'm using a Les Paul style guitar with humbuckers anyway. I've got it on the neck, so very bassy, and I've got my EQ somewhat bassy as well, a little extra bass, a little less treble. Okay. Two other things. I've got my tone knob rolled down for the beginning of the solo. You'll see at some point I flip it up and I put the tone on there full so I can get the dramatic part of it with a little more articulation. You can hear a little bit more of the distinctness of the notes near the end of the solo. And I'll show you where that happens. Last thing I guess I could say is that I've got some compression on this. I don't know if he used it or if it was just sort of natural compression coming from the amp, but I've got some on there to help sustain the notes. So that's it on the sound. Okay, let's go over the demo now. Slow motion. It's already pretty slow. The challenge is not the notes on this, gang. It's how you play them. All right, so here we go. So there we go. So that's the whole solo. Let's go through it now line by line. And I think you saw where I turned up my tone knob there too. Okay, so let's go over the solo line by line. The whole thing is in C major, and mostly in major pentatonic, but there's a couple of notes that are out of that. So C major is it. Everything's in C major. So we're going to start out here. I'm going to play this line first. Okay, so on this one, we're just very simply playing on the 5th string here, or on the 5th fret, sorry, on the 4th and 3rd string. And you're going to kind of rake just slightly and hammer on to the 7th on the 3rd string, or on the G string. We're going from 5 to 7. And now you're going to bend it up a whole step. Now I found pulling it down works best. And you got to hold it down there and let it ring out and then bring it back down. So for quite a while. At the end, you give it a little bit of vibrato. You see, he's trying to, I don't know if he's trying to play it like a pedal steel, but it kind of has a bit of that effect. All right, so that's the first line. Here's the second line. Okay, so there's a number of different ways to play this. I chose to play it on the same strings to emphasize the thickness of it. So we're just kind of coming up on the 4th string, sliding up to 14, and then playing 12, and then 14. Giving that some vibrato, and then playing this. So that's 10, hammer to 12, pull off to 10, and slide down to 9. And give it some vibrato. Okay, here's the next line, and this is a good one. So much in that line. First of all, let's start out with the beginning of it. We're going to start, this is all on the 3rd string. So that's part of it too, is keeping on that 3rd string and trying to eke everything out on that 3rd string. So we're going to start out with a bend on the 12th, a whole step bend. You got to get this exactly. And then pulling off, bringing it down to the 12th, and then pulling off to 10. Nice strong pull off. This trail off is just so beautiful. You hear guys like Stevie Ray Vaughan and Buddy Guy play it in a blues context, but here it is in a country rock sort of context, and it's just astoundingly beautiful, I think. Okay, next is that in itself is also pretty cool. So we're starting out with 7. We're going to hammer to the 9 and then slide down to 5. Give it some vibrato. You hear how that pull off is just a quick pull off. But it is a pull off, and you have that note, you deaden it, and you hit it again. Just so stroking on, just so expertly stroking on all of those notes. Okay, beautiful. Here's the next line. Another beautiful one. So again, on the third string, a lot of this is on the third string. We're going to bend up a half step from the 9 to the 10. So it's coming up, down, and then back up. And then giving it some nice vibrato. And then we're going to bend on the 10th, a whole step. And when it's up there, we're going to tap on the 12th with the bent note, just quickly, and release. Okay, so like this. And it's got to ring out because you got to hold that note. And then coming down to the, once you let it come down, then you got to pull off to the 9th. Okay, so one last time. Here's the next line. So that's very similar to what we did before. Again, all of this action is taking place on the third string. It's beautiful how he's using that. At this point, I put the tone knob all the way back up. I've had it down to where it's kind of muffled, sort of like a jazz sound. And I'm going to bring it all the way up to 10. And it's going to make a little bit of a difference, but not all that much. Really beautiful here. So going on a C triad here. So you got to play this nice and hard. You'll notice that the dynamics are such that it's been very soft and subtle up to here. But here's where he lets it loose a little bit. He starts letting it loose, and the band is going to kick in as well to do the same. So the dynamics are really important here. Slide up to, on the third string from 7 to 9. And then we'll play on the second string 8 and 10. And then on the first string, we're going to play 8 and immediately hammer to 10, pull off to 8, and then play it a couple more times. And then on the second string, we'll play 8 hammered to 10 and give it some vibrato. And then pull off to the 8th. He does that a lot where he pulls off and then hits the note again. Such a nice effect. Just great. Okay, here's the next line. That's pretty straightforward. There's a this is all double stop fourths. So we'll give a thwack first. So not quite like that. You just want it to be kind of it's a timing thing. And then we're going to play double stop on the third and second strings, 7 and 8, and pull off to 5/5. Do it twice. And then we're going to play on the fourth and third strings, 5/5, and we're going to hammer on the fourth on the 7th. So the whole line is like this. Okay, we're coming to the end. Okay, so that's the penultimate line there is that. So we'll play on the, this is all C major pentatonic. Just so beautiful how he does all of this in C major pentatonic. So anyway, 5th string. Again, we've got that quick pull off. But you'll notice that he's only hitting once. He's only picking once, and he'll hammer on and pull off. Notice that it's not, it's important to articulate it that way. That's one of my favorite pieces, is that. I know it's so simple, but it's so effective. The last line is this. Okay, so the first thing is, second string, we're going from the F, which is the 6th, to the 8, or to the G, which is the 8th, and giving it some vibrato. And now we're going to play this. So that's just walking down the pentatonic, C major pentatonic scale. Second string 5, third string 7/5, fourth string 7/5, and then a C triad, which is just 5/5/5 on the 4, 3, and 2 strings. And now I play this. It's just really something to get out of the solo into the singing again. And that is just a C triad on the first 3 strings, 9, 8, 8. A G triad on the first 3 strings, 7, 8, 7. And an F triad on the first 3 strings, 5, 6, 5. And that's it. All right, gang. Well, there you have it. Late for the Sky, Jackson Browne, David Lindley on guitar. One of the most beautiful solos out there, in my opinion. Have a ball learning this. It's not so hard to get the notes, and it's a great place to kind of work on perfecting your touch of the instrument to try and get it to sound heartfelt and soulful. All right, until next time, we'll see you on down the road.